Thanks for checking out this movie review video. This is for the 2024 release Alien Romulus, and yes, it's in the Alien franchise, and I believe this film is a return to form for the franchise. In fact, going forward, I would love more of Fede Alvarez being involved in this franchise just to keep it this good. I highly recommend this film. So, you can find it streaming many places. You have to pay for it, obviously. I usually use Fandango at home. That's what I prefer. I was hoping to see it dip below $19.99 before tax, but alas, it is still there when I'm doing this video. So hopefully by the time I put this up, it's dropped and people can go rent it for a lot less. Or you can go buy it on physical media. That's another option. Anyway, directed by Fede Alvarez, who did the Evil Dead remake in 2013, which a lot of people really loved that remake. I enjoyed it. It kind of got rid of all the comedy aspect of the originals, but it worked pretty well. Also did Don't Breathe, which I was kind of middling on Don't Breathe. And then The Girl in the Spider's Web and Calls, which I did not see those. This was written by Alvarez as well as Rodo Sayagues, who did scripts for Evil Dead remake in 2013, Don't Breathe, Calls, and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre film that came out in 2022, which a lot of people hated, but I actually thought was pretty solid. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I was like, it's solid. It's decent. So quick synopsis. I don't want to give too much away on this one. The film definitely happens after the first Alien film. That's all I'll say about that. Where it falls exactly in the timeline of the entire franchise, I'm not 100% sure because I haven't put the time in to figure that out. That would involve me going back and rewatching all the films, basically. And I'm not going to do that right now just because I don't have time to do it, but I'm sure there are people out there who have that information. So it's basically about a bunch of young colonists on this one planet that they start out on who decide they need to get to another planet to do some mining, basically, to make some good money. And they don't have the resources to get there because I think they said they need to be in like cryo sleep for like 9 years or something in order to get there. And they just don't have the resources to do that. So they find out about a abandoned space station that they think they can go to, harvest the resources there that they need in order to get their mission going. But alas, there's a reason that space station was abandoned. I'm sure everyone can guess. And then things happen. So it feels like old school Alien right from the beginning, and the scope feels bigger though. Because with a lot of these Alien films, it's usually taking place on like one ship, and then it's like they go explore like one planet, or they kind of bump into like one other ship or something like that. With this one, it's a little bit larger in scope because you start out on this planet that we don't really know what it is, and it's this big society. It's something that we've never seen in this franchise before, so it's kind of like expanding that universe a little bit, expanding the galactic map. And then these young colonists end up getting on their own ship, and then they end up on the other space station, and there's some other planets you end up seeing. So I feel like it kind of like makes the world of Alien feel a little bit larger, which I enjoy. The characters are very interesting, and you really have no issue connecting with them. They do a really good job of making you feel for it. Not every single character, because not every single character is going to be or is supposed to be super likable, but the characters that really matter the most, you do really like, you do feel very invested in, and they have depth. They're very interesting. They also develop throughout the film, the ones that don't end up dying super early, because, you know, being an Alien film, there have to be deaths in this, so you can probably guess a lot of the people who are going to end up getting it in one way or another. So good characters. There's a character that you think, if this guy dies, I'm going to be a mess. At least I did personally. A very interesting, cool character that I was like, if this character ends up dying at any point in this film, I am going to be very upset emotionally. I'm not going to tell you whether I was or was not, but I just remember thinking that as soon as I kind of met this character. I'm like, oh, I really like this character. The sets look phenomenal, and the cinematography is great as well. This film, from an aesthetic standpoint, looks amazing. Like I said, it's a return to form from the first film, so think about how visually appealing and interesting the sets and the cinematography were of the first Alien film, and it's about on par with that, to be honest. Love the way they made everything look. Love the way they shot things. Alvarez, wonderful behind the camera. Wonderful with his directing. Cinematographer did a wonderful, wonderful job. It just looks outstanding. Relatively early on in the film, there's a real uh-oh type moment that lets you know the scope of the danger for these individual characters. I didn't think that the scope was going to be as large as it was for these individuals. And it does seem pretty rough. It seems really, really rough. It does make me wonder, though, if maybe they went a little bit too over the top. And I do think that that is one of the faults with this film, is there are certain things where they go a little bit too hard, a little bit too ridiculous, a little bit too over the top. And reining it in a little bit would have made it an even better film. But it's still a very good film, in my opinion. There's a scene involving a synthetic where the mouth movements don't look really good. They look pretty off. I think it was CGI. I couldn't fully tell if that was a situation, but it was synthetic slash android for people who want to, use that terminology. But it could have been an animatronic that was just very poor with the mouth movement, but I think it was CGI because there were certain moments where it looked like the CGI was a little bit like off, like coming off the mouth in a sense. So the CGI, when it came to that particular aspect, was not good. It was actually really bad. And I wish they would have gone a totally different direction with that. But CGI and other aspects, like, seeing space and all the other planets outside of that, was great. For the most part, CGI really, really awesome. But for some reason, this synthetic life form, the mouth movements were just really bad. So that kind of took me out of the film for a little bit. Alvarez really knows how to create intense scenes and hold that intensity for quite some time. That's one of the great things that a lot of people noticed from Alvarez from that 2013 Evil Dead remake, and is fully on display in Alien Romulus. Really, really great as far as that goes. I was just riveted. I mean, this is a film that is 2 hours basically, and it doesn't really feel like it's 2 hours because there are a lot of scenes that are intense, and the scenes that are intense, it's not like intensity just for a little bit. It's intensity that's drawn out for quite a long time, and it doesn't get drawn out in the sense that you're just like, okay, I've been feeling this way for so long that like, oh, now I'm just not feeling the intensity anymore. They keep it for the right amount of time, and then they give you a bit of reprieve, and then they give you another situation that's intense, and then you're feeling intense about that situation, and they get hit you for a long time with that, and then they give you another reprieve. So it's done very well, and kudos for that. There is a death in this where it could have actually been avoided just by the character moving, which is annoying. That's something that should never happen in a film like this. Being a horror fan, which I know Fede Alvarez is, that is unacceptable. There should never be a death where the person can literally just move a little bit, which they would in this instance, in order to avoid their death. And I think this goes along with a few other things that were just kind of ridiculous, over the top, that just didn't make sense for what was going on screen, and it kind of took me out of the experience for a little bit. So yeah. The performances are great in this. The acting is wonderful overall. Obviously, the main characters, the people playing the main characters, shine the most in this film, which is exactly what you want, because those are the most rich and interesting characters. There are some outlandish things that happen, and the acidic blood of the xenomorphs is used at times and then ignored at times when it's convenient to ignore it. That's problematic. That's another issue that kind of took me out of the film a little bit. There is one scene involving a very ridiculous, outlandish scenario with the xenomorph blood, and you'll know what I'm talking about if you've seen the film. One of those instances I was talking about where they just went too ridiculous, too outlandish. They needed to dial that back a bunch, because you're just like, come on. And then there are these instances where there's acidic blood in the environment, and it would have hit people, but they just decided to ignore that at that point. And it's just like, come on, you need consistency with this. It's xenomorph acidic blood. If someone's close to it, at least have like a little bit get on them or something. I don't know, just something that really bothered me. But still, like I said, still a great film. Even though it is 2 hours, it moves at a very good pace, which says a lot. Because a lot of the time, the overwhelming majority of the time, 2 hour films feel like 2 hours, sometimes longer to me personally. And this film, it just went really, really quickly because the story's very interesting. The action's great. The acting's wonderful. You have so many awesome things to look at. This is a full experience as far as film goes. I can imagine that this was even better in the theater. It was probably amazing in the theater. So out of 5 stars, half stars, and play, I'm going to give it a 4.5 star rating. This is one of the best horror movies of the year. We'll see where it ranks in the end when I do this, my final ranking. But yeah, really good. So would love to hear your thoughts on the film, especially if you have differing opinions. Go ahead and put it down in the comments. Oh, also something else I wanted to tack on real quick. The title, Alien Romulus, the Romulus aspect of that, there's a lot that you can dive into that has to do with, subtext and thematic things with the film. Obviously, I'm not going into it in this because it's a no spoiler review. But if you want to talk about that, go ahead in the comments. Subscribe to the channel. Thumbs up on the video to help me out. Hit the notification bell button so you know when I'm putting up new videos. Also, I have memberships if you want to sign up. Link in the description. But thank you so much for watching. Until next time, keep it brutal.